The rain poured softly outside the small downtown café, blurring the city lights into watercolor streaks on the window. Inside, a man in a tailored gray suit sat alone at the corner table, staring blankly into a half-empty cup of coffee that had long gone cold. His name was Ethan Cole, a powerful CEO who once filled rooms with confidence and authority. But tonight he looked empty, like a man who lost everything money couldn't buy. He had missed another family dinner. His wife had stopped waiting for him months ago. His teenage son barely texted him back. The success he once chased had come at a price he could no longer afford: loneliness. As Ethan sighed, a soft voice broke through his silence. "Are you okay, sir?" He looked up, startled. A little girl stood beside his table, maybe 6 or 7 years old, holding a small pink umbrella dripping rainwater on the floor. Her big brown eyes glowed with innocence and concern. I'm fine," Ethan muttered, forcing a smile. But she didn't move. "You don't look fine," she said gently. "Mommy says when someone's sad, they should have something sweet. It helps." She placed a small cookie wrapped in napkin on his table. For the first time in months, Ethan felt something shift inside him, a tiny warmth in the cold chambers of his heart. He didn't know it yet, but this little encounter was about to change everything. Ethan stared at the tiny cookie lying on the table, a homemade chocolate chip, slightly crumbled but offered with pure sincerity. He hesitated for a moment, then picked it up. The first bite was unexpectedly comforting, the sweetness blending with a sudden sting in his eyes. He blinked away a tear, realizing how long it had been since anyone had done something so small yet so kind for him. "What's your name?" he asked softly. "Lila," the girl said, smiling. "Mommy and I come here every Saturday after the park." "She's paying at the counter." Ethan followed her gaze. At the register stood a woman with a tired but warm face, her clothes simple, her posture patient. She caught his glance and smiled politely before returning to her conversation with the barista. Something about her presence felt grounding, real, in contrast to the cold, sterile world Ethan had built around himself. Lila swung her feet as she sat on the edge of the opposite chair. "You work too much, don't you?" she said matter-of-factly. Ethan chuckled softly. "How do you know that?" "You have that look," she said. "Mommy says that's the look people get when they forget what makes them happy." Her innocent words hit deeper than she could ever understand. For the first time in years, Ethan didn't want to rush, didn't want to check his phone. He just sat there, listening to the rain, feeling human again. When the woman came to get her daughter, she apologized. "I'm so sorry, sir. She talks to everyone." Ethan shook his head gently. "Don't be. She reminded me of something I'd forgotten." The woman smiled faintly. "Sometimes, children see what adults overlook." As they left, Ethan found himself whispering, "Thank you, Lila." The next morning, Ethan couldn't stop thinking about that little girl. Her words echoed in his mind. "You have that look, when people forget what makes them happy." He arrived at his office earlier than usual, but for the first time, he didn't feel proud of it. The glass walls, the spotless floors, the endless meetings, everything felt hollow. He stared at the framed photo on his desk, his wife and son smiling from years ago. He had everything, yet somehow lost the very people he worked so hard for. He leaned back in his chair, wondering when success had started feeling like failure. That evening, he found himself back at the same café, almost without realizing it. The rain had returned, soft and steady, just like before. And then he saw her, Lila, sitting by the window with her mother again. Her eyes lit up when she saw him. "Hey, it's the sad man," she giggled, waving. Ethan laughed, a genuine laugh this time, and joined their table. The woman smiled in recognition. "Back again?" she teased gently. "I guess I wanted to thank you both properly," Ethan said. "That cookie meant more than you know." Lila grinned proudly. "Mommy makes them. She sells them at the bakery down the street." Something clicked in Ethan's mind. "You run that small bakery on Maple Avenue?" he asked her mother. "Yes," she replied, slightly embarrassed. It's small, but it's ours. Ethan nodded slowly, ideas forming in his mind. I think your bakery has something my company could never buy, he said softly. The woman frowned slightly. And what's that? Ethan smiled. Heart. Over the next few days, Ethan found himself visiting the cafe more often. It became his quiet escape from the noise of boardrooms and endless profit reports. Each visit, he'd find Lila and her mother, Maya, sitting at their usual window spot, sharing cookies and laughter. And every time, Ethan felt a little less like the lonely CEO, and more like a man rediscovering life. One afternoon, he asked, Maya, how's your bakery doing? She sighed, stirring her coffee. It's been hard lately. Rent went up, and big chains opened nearby. But I can't give up. It's all I have, and it's Lila's favorite place. Lila nodded enthusiastically. Mommy says love is our secret ingredient. Ethan smiled at her words, then grew thoughtful. What if I could help? Not as a businessman, but as a friend. Maya hesitated. I don't want charity, Ethan. He shook his head. Not charity, a partnership. I want to invest, help you expand without losing what makes it special. She looked stunned. Why would you do that? Ethan leaned back, eyes soft. Because somewhere between meetings and mergers, I forgot what kindness looked like. You two reminded me. There was silence for a moment. Then Maya's eyes shimmered. Maybe fate sat you at that cafe table for a reason. He smiled. Maybe it did. As they shared laughter and plans, Ethan realized this wasn't just about business anymore. It was about connection, purpose, and perhaps something even deeper. When he left that day, Lila ran after him, pressing a warm cookie into his hand. For when you feel lonely again, she said. Ethan smiled down at her. You know what, Lila? I don't think I will anymore. Months passed, and the little bakery on Maple Avenue began to transform. With Ethan's help, it got a fresh sign, new ovens, and a cozy reading corner that quickly became the heart of the community. But Ethan didn't just invest money, he invested time. Every weekend, he showed up early to help Maya arrange pastries while Lila decorated the cookie jars with her crayon drawings. The man once surrounded by silence was now surrounded by laughter and the sweet smell of fresh bread. For the first time in years, Ethan felt alive. One afternoon, as the bakery buzzed with customers, a familiar voice called out, Dad! Ethan turned. It was his teenage son, Ryan, standing awkwardly at the door. Maya and Lila watched quietly as Ethan's eyes filled with surprise. Ryan smiled shyly. Mom told me where you've been spending your weekends. I wanted to see it. Ethan walked over, voice trembling. I'm glad you did. Ryan looked around. It's nice here. You look happy. Ethan nodded. I am. And I want you to meet some people who helped me remember what happiness means. He introduced Ryan to Maya and Lila, and as they shared cookies and laughter, Ethan realized something profound. Kindness had given him back not only purpose, but family. Later that evening, when the bakery lights dimmed, Maya placed a warm cookie in Ethan's hand, the same kind Lila had offered that rainy night. You've come full circle, she said softly. Ethan smiled, gazing at her and Lila. No, he whispered. I've finally come home. Outside, the rain began to fall again, gentle, cleansing, and full of promise, just like the day everything had begun.